Well, hello, this is Jeff Gaudiosi, and you're on misplacedstraws.com, where music comes to life. My guest today is one of the true virtuosos in rock, a man that could literally play any style of music. You may know him from his work with Alice Cooper, Dream Theater, Black Country Communion, Sons of Apollo, just to name a few of his projects. He's about to release his eighth solo record and his first in almost a decade, called The Phoenix. Please welcome Derek Sherinian. Derek, welcome.
Oh, welcome. Well, thank you for having me on. It's great to talk to you.
You as well. And now The Phoenix. It's out September 18th. Your last solo record, Oceana, was in 2011. Was the gap because you were working with other projects, or did it just not feel like the right time for a solo record?
I felt it was time to take a little time off, and then I formed in 2016 Sons of Apollo with Mike Portnoy, and most of my creative was going towards that band. And then about 18 months ago, I just felt an urge to make another solo record because it's been a while, and I got a new solo deal and started writing some ideas and called Simon Phillips up, who's been a longtime collaborator and partner on 5 of my past records. And we, over a 5-day period, wrote the bulk of the structure and compositions on The Phoenix. And we figured out what players we were going to have on as guests.
And Simon, as you said, has been a regular in your solo work. Just an amazing drummer. What is it about the way you guys work together that makes it click so well when you team up?
Well, it starts with, if you go back to 1980, I was about 14 or 13 years old, and the Michael Schenker first record came out, and Jeff Beck There and Back. And I was a huge fan of both of those records. And Simon was the drummer on both of them. And it just stood out to me how great and how his drums just shined on both of those records. 2 totally different styles, but you totally knew it was him. And that had a huge impact on me, where I wanted to be that same kind of player on keyboards, where I can go and do different genres and maintain my identity.
And as people are listening to this record, you have a ton of guests on it, and a lot of whom you've worked with before. When you're writing, do you do it with a specific guest in mind? Do you write a song and say, wow, it'd be great if Zakk Wylde played on this, or something like that?
Yeah, sometimes it's like that, or sometimes I'll write a song and I'm not sure who's I think would be best on it until the composition's complete. And then I can sit back and say, all right, this guy would be great on it. Or if I know that I'm going to be writing with a particular player, like Kiko, for instance, on this record, this is the first time we've ever worked together. And we wrote the song Pesadello. And that's a great way to feature new artists on recordings that I haven't worked with before. And I always want to keep my ears open for great players. There's a few players that I have on my list that I would love to work with in the future, but I'm always keeping my ears open for new great talent.
Anyone you'd like to let out there as a little push to get them to work on the next record?
Well, at the very, very top of the list is Jeff Beck, and
my personal favorite.
Yeah, that would just really be awesome to play with him in any capacity. But I would love to do a recording with he and Simon Phillips, whether it's on his record or one of mine. It doesn't matter as long as it happens.
And some of the guests you've worked with a few times, like Joe Bonamassa is on here, and Tony Franklin. What is it that makes a good collaborator for you?
Musicality and people that play for the song, and that everyone that I choose, all of these people are great in their own way, but one of the things that stand out is that they all have identifiable styles on their instrument, and they stand apart from the rest. And I always have been attracted to those kind of players, and that's how I try to be on keyboards as well, to have my own voice where it's identifiable. No matter who I'm playing with, you can tell that it's me.
And you mentioned earlier that you got the itch to start writing for a solo record again. Are you the type that's always writing and then you just kind of figure out which project it's going to go to, or do you write for the specific project you're working on?
Well, the blur is between my solo music and Sons of
Mhm.
Apollo, because those are the two bands that most of the creative goes to. But it usually works itself out.
And you mentioned Sons of Apollo. You guys were just really kicking into the touring cycle for the 2020 record when the pandemic hit. Everything needs to be rescheduled a couple of times, it seems. Did all the changing and rescheduling have an effect on the timing for the Phoenix, or was this sort of the goal all along, is to have it out around now?
No, the Phoenix, this schedule has been in stone prior to the lockdown. So
Mhm.
just when the tour got canceled, it gave me more chance to speed up the overdubs.
Mhm. And do you ever see yourself doing any kind of solo tour with special guests, or is it just not enough time with Sons of Apollo and everything else?
Well, first step is that we have rescheduled European dates with Sons of
Mhm.
Apollo in May 2021. And then we have 4 South American dates in April 2021. So step by step, let's keep our fingers crossed that things get figured out and we can all go back to work and tour and enjoy concerts again, you know?
And just as a side note, I'd recommend the Sons of Apollo show to anybody. I was lucky enough to catch you guys in Boston just before all this hit, one of the last US shows. And saw you on the first tour too. And it's just a great night of music. I mean, the talent that you guys bring, it's just amazing to watch.
Oh, well, thank you. Yeah, that was a great show. We always loved playing Boston because Mike and I went to college there
Mhm. Yeah, it
in
was a fun
Berkeley.
night.
Yeah,
And
always.
we mentioned Joe Bonamassa earlier. He plays and sings on just a blistering cover of Them Changes on your record. And first of all, what was it like revisiting that song, going all the way back to getting your start with Buddy Miles? And then also, too, of course, it brings up thoughts of Black Country Communion. Any chance of that band getting back together?
Well, to the first part of your question, is always a pleasure to play that song. I loved it when I played with Buddy, and reliving it. Joe knew of my history with Buddy, and we were figuring out what song he should sing, and he suggested Them Changes, and I thought it was a great idea, and so did Simon. And so we did a great recording of it. It's coming out as our 3rd single
Oh,
on
great.
September 4th in a couple days, and we shot a great video to go along with it that'll come out as well. So we're very excited.
And anything on Black Country Communion?
Black Country Communion, yes, because we always keep in touch, all the boys and of the Brothers of the Communion, and we're talking about doing something next year. Not sure what month, but we'll figure it out. But it's time for BCC 5.
Awesome. Great band. And we mentioned the Buddy Miles period. Now, as a young guy, how did you get your start playing with Buddy?
Well, I was very young. I think it was like 21 or 22 at the time, living in Los Angeles. And a mutual friend knew Buddy, and Buddy was hiring a band to play the California like beach circuit, beach clubs, and then eventually do a whole US tour. And so I was recommended and went into audition, and Buddy liked my playing, and I just was all of a sudden part of his band, and we started playing all these shows. And to this day, I have not played with anyone that has a more soulful voice or a more grooving pocket when they're playing drums. And he taught me some very valuable lessons. One of them, he had a nickname for me, Mortimer. I don't know where he got it from, but he would always say, Mortimer, you got to listen to the train for the groove and the song. And it really had a big impact on me, that no matter what kind of music or the song is or what time signature, there's a train in every song, and I hear it. And that's one of the reasons why I'm able to like maintain my identity or groove in all these different styles, is because I always hear the train.
So I would think that would have had to been a great education starting off, that really positioned you well when you look at your career and all the different styles of music you played. I mean, it really all traces back to what you did with Buddy Miles.
Well, that's like that's the grease, that's the real shit. That's the
Mhm.
soul and the groove. And then on top of that, building the chops and all the virtuosity and all that stuff. But to me, all the virtuosity and technique without that Buddy Miles factor and the
Mhm.
train, you sound like a sterile, it
Mhm.
sounds cold. And so the perfect mixture of that European classical influence or whatever and odd time signatures with that R&B Buddy soul is just, I always try to maintain that perfect blend. And
And I
that's my
think,
sound.
yeah, and it's what makes you unique in all of those different projects is that feel that nobody else quite has. So it definitely gives you a sound, which is a really cool thing.
Oh, thank you for noticing.
Yeah. And one thing I thought was really cool with this record is you posted on Facebook for album title suggestions, and somebody came up with The Phoenix. Why did The Phoenix strike you? What was it about that that really grabbed you as the winner?
I like the words,
Hmm.
and it just struck me that we were in a time of despair with the lockdown. It felt like we were in ashes, and this record I felt was a ball of fire ready to emerge. Just I was so feeling strong about the music, and I saw the Phoenix, and it was a friend of mine who suggested it, a really good friend of mine, out of like all these people, and I just immediately said, "Boom, that's it." And that's what I feel like my record is during this time of despair. I think it's such a kick-ass record. People are
Hmm.
gonna just gravitate and love it, and it's gonna rise out of the ashes.
Without a doubt. And even before touring came to a halt with the state the world is in, the music industry was in a state of flux with streaming and things like that. What are your thoughts on just kind of the business of music now and how an artist can make a living in just the strange world we're all living in?
I think it's, obviously a lot different than how it used to be with
Hmm.
all the streaming and downloading, and it just seems like the artist makes less and less money per record, and it sucks. But the bottom line is I love making records, and there's people around the world that want to hear them, and so I have to play the game until I can start my own record company. I'm grateful to be able to make records, and for sure.
Well, and again, music is exactly what we all need to get through everything that's going on in the world right now. So, more music is a good thing.
For sure.
And so, my guest today has been the one and only Derek Sherinian. His solo record, The Phoenix, is out everywhere on September 18th. You can stream it off of your favorite streaming site. I know you have some physical copies available too that people can order. So, Derek, thank you so much for taking the time to do this. It's a pleasure to finally meet you and get to chat a bit. And hopefully, we'll catch you on tour sometime soon.
Jeff, thank you for having me on. Have a fantastic day, and thank you for supporting the Phoenix.
You got it. Thanks, Derek.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.